Darlings, how are you? How's your week going so far? It's bloody wonderful to be here with you for this special bonus episode brought to you by our friends at YouFoods. If you're here looking for a little self-improvement backed by science, you are in the right place. Exercise is so often our focus at this time of year, but rather than concentrating on those external measures of the success of our new exercise regime, like how we look or how heavy our weights are, have you ever tried focusing on the brilliant effects of exercise on your mental health and how it makes you feel? It can be the key to unlocking that consistent motivation to exercise, and I know it's been a game changer for me. Now, here at That's Helpful, you'll know I'm all about the simple shifts that immediately make life easier and more enjoyable. YouFoods is one of them for me. They take the stress out of meal prepping and take on the mental load of making sure your meals are fresh, healthy, and nutritionally balanced. If you're with me on YouTube, you'll be able to see that my husband has launched the empty YouFoods box by the front door. So just so you know, I do love them. I started having them for lunch to increase my nutrition rather than reaching for the same old boring sandwich. And let me tell you, they're delicious. I have more energy and they're super quick to prepare. If you're looking to make a healthy shift this year, when it comes to your nutrition, YouFoods could well be the answer you're looking for. They're always adding new meals and tweaking recipes to keep it even more delicious than ever. And best of all, there's no kid cooking, no dishes, no cleanup. Every week you choose from 60 meals, let gourmet chefs whip them up for you and have them delivered to your door fresh, never frozen. Make sure you use my code HELPFUL, HELPFUL, for up to $200 off your first 5 boxes. My guest today is Dr. Jennifer Heisz. She's an expert in brain health, an associate professor and Canada Research Chair in Brain Health and Aging in the Department of Kinesiology at McMaster, and she's also the author of Move Your Body, Heal Your Mind. If you're looking for some motivation and to get inspired, to get moving, I promise you're going to be super fired up and ready to go after this conversation. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
Such a joy to have you here. I'm really passionate about this. Tell me about your own experience with exercise and the impact you found on your mental health.
Sure, yeah. Well, I kind of came to exercise later in life. So I found, I wasn't really athletic as a kid and sports weren't really my thing. And so I didn't really have an exercise habit until I was in my 20s. And it was around that time that I started to, I was in school. The stressors of school were really piling up. That adulting.
Yep.
It can be so
gets
difficult.
Real quick.
It gets real really quick. And that was such an intense pressure for me that it triggered a lot of mental health issues like around anxiety and some OCD. And I happened on exercise as a way to sort of calm my mind. Someone recommended, maybe try going for a bike ride. And so I borrowed their rusty old road bike and I went out for a bike ride, and I was amazed at how calm I felt. Just a simple bike ride around the neighborhood. And I came back feeling good, relaxed, less stress. And it really sparked a change in my personal life where I really prioritized exercise, but also my professional life. Yeah. So up to that point, I wasn't really studying exercise. I was just studying neuroscience and the fundamentals of how the brain represents memories.
Neuroscience.
But this really inspired me to understand more. I had such a profound effect on myself. I wanted to know more about what the research said for people in general. And since then, I've really devoted my whole career and my life to understanding how exercise impacts the brain, how it impacts our mental health. And then, the next step is like, how do we get people moving more for their mental health so that they can start feeling the benefits that I did?
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk about this because there's some incredible research in the book and some amazing science that backs this up. But the thing that strikes me is it's so cool because I, like you, was not into sports as a kid, was just not interested. Genuinely, the only reason I started going to the gym was because of the pressures of diet culture. And that does not motivate you to continue to exercise. You know, everything's a grind. It's all about punishing yourself. It's all about like how hard you can work and how painful, genuinely, you know, no pain, no gain, how painful you can make that experience. Whereas I feel like when you start to focus on the brilliant gift that exercise can be for you, it's so motivating. I now work out every day and it's not a chore because I'm really excited to get that dopamine and those endorphins, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's funny how when we shift from focusing on sort of the physical and using exercise to enhance the physical, that actually makes it kind of, you know, negative. It has negative connotations and, you know, maybe you're not eating enough. And so you're not able to really feel the benefits of the exercise. But one thing that's super interesting is a lot of like eating disorder behavior and exercise sort of addictions like that are wrapped up in eating disorders often stem from a mental health issue in the first place.
Yeah,
and so if we shift the focus of movement as being more like medicine rather than a punishment, it can actually not only change your outlook on exercise, but also improve your mental health and your relationship with exercise.
So good. What's not to love? So why does this work? What happens in our brains when we move? Why does it have such a profound impact on our mental health?
Yeah, there's so many things that happen when we move our bodies, and the benefits are felt directly by the brain. So if you think about it, like, you know, most of the time we're sitting, a lot of the time we're sitting for a long period of time, you know, we're playing on the computer, looking on our phone, we're doing work. And when we sit for prolonged periods of time, essentially like the brain blood flow decreases and we're not getting the vital nutrients that we need for our brain to thrive. And so even just breaking up that sedentary time with some short movement breaks, it's recommended every 30 minutes to take a 2-minute movement break. And that could just be like a walk around your office or your room. That's enough to prevent or restore the brain blood flow that is decreased from prolonged sitting. And so once the blood is flowing to the brain, it brings with it all of these nutrients. So it brings oxygen and glucose that the brain needs to really function properly. And this helps to stimulate the production of neurotrophic factors, which are growth factors that support the growth, functioning, and survival of brand new brain cells, which is just amazing, right? That helps us learn better and to focus more. And then there's, as you mentioned, dopamine, endorphins that are released from exercise that really reinforce that behavior as rewarding. The endorphins give us that sort of euphoric feeling. And then even things like endocannabinoids get released, which, you know, endocannabinoids are like the internal cannabis. And it works kind of the same way as as cannabis, which is released by exercise. So that mellow feeling you get after that, you know, that long run or whatever. That's
so good. And it's free.
And it's
winning.
Free. Well, it does require a little bit of effort.
True. That's true. And even things like lactic acid that previously we've thought of as being really bad, you know, that burning sensation you get in your muscles after working out. And everyone says, oh, you've got to work off that lactic acid. That's actually really great for our brains.
Isn't that super fascinating? Yeah. So this is like some of the latest research right now that we're doing in my lab and that's been demonstrated in some animal models. And basically, yeah, you're right. So when you go to a fitness class, the aerobic instructor is often like, yeah, that burn, you got that burn. That's that lactic acid. Well, it turns out lactic acid or lactate is not even really causing the burn. So we got that part wrong. So it's not the villain. In fact, it's the hero. So lactate actually, it does build up in the muscles during hard work. But then it spills out into the blood, moves to the brain, goes across the blood-brain barrier, and reports to the hippocampus, which is a brain region responsible for learning and memory. And so once it gets to the hippocampus, it acts as a fuel source for brain cells, so giving them more energy so they can work faster and better. And it promotes growth. So it stimulates these growth factors that just act like a fertilizer or miracle grow for the brain cells. So yeah, this thing that we thought was so bad
cool
for us is actually so good. And so this has a lot of implications, especially for healthy aging and brain health as we get older. Because that brain region where the lactate goes to stimulate growth is also the brain region affected most by things like Alzheimer's disease.
Ah, wow. That's so interesting. So you've touched on it there a little bit, some of the problems that we can help ease with exercise, aging, anxiety. What are some of the other impacts that if we do start to exercise, we're probably going to see improve over time?
Oh, yeah. So it's even just short movement breaks. And this is sort of a fundamental shift that's happening right now in the literature and the research is that, originally we had set these thresholds for people to meet.
Yeah.
150 minutes of moderate to vigorous exercise.
It's quite a lot.
If you're not exercising, that is super intimidating. But the latest research is suggesting that every step counts. Just getting your butt off the couch and out the door, even if you just a stroll around the block. It can be a 10-minute self-paced walk. It's enough to increase focus, improve creativity, improve your mood, reduce stress, reduce anxiety. As we move more, we can sleep better during the night.
Yeah.
The benefits are just tremendous.
And even things like resiliency.
Oh yeah. Resiliency is a big one, right? Especially as we're all kind of getting back after that dreaded pandemic that nearly, wasted us away. But the resiliency is really important. And when we think about resiliency, we really think about sort of our reaction to stressors. So the reality is life is stressful. There are things that come that we can't predict. Some are good, some are bad. And the resiliency piece is really our reaction to those, right? So if we're able to react calmly, keep calm, carry on, then we're able to actually be more steady in the face of adversity, which is really kind of what resiliency is in a nutshell. And so when we think of it like that, exercise really helps us do that because what it does is it trains and tones the stress response so that when we experience a stressful event, we don't get so up about it, right? It doesn't distress us as much. Our heart doesn't race as much. We don't feel that sense of panic. We can be more calm and carry on. And the thing is, a lot of people may not realize is that we only have one stress response for all the different types of stressors in our life, be it psychological stress or physical stress, like exercise.
Yeah.
So because they work on the same system, we can use exercise with acute bouts to stimulate the stress response, push us a little bit outside our comfort zone. That helps the stress response adapt and grow stronger so that it can tolerate more, stressful psychological events that happen in our life, and we're less reactive and more resilient.
It's so cool. And I've heard you talk about it before in terms of, if you're somebody who suffers anxiety, as you said, a lot of the stress responses to anxiety, increased breathing, increased heart rate, some of those things that actually might trigger you to become more anxious. If you're actually experiencing them in exercise, you're better equipped to deal with them.
Yeah, it's like an exposure therapy, right?
Yeah.
So it's a classic form of psychological therapy, but we can actually use exercise in that way. And so, yeah, exactly like you said, you go to like do a workout, whether it's at the gym or outside or in your house, and you experience those high bursts where your heart increases and your breathing rate increases, and it feels a lot like anxiety, right? And so people who actually have anxiety may also have anxiety sensitivity, which is the fear of fear itself, or that fear of the feeling of afraid, so for those individuals, intense exercise can be really terrifying to the point that they actually will avoid it.
Yeah.
But it turns out it's the medicine they need. So
Yes.
if they expose themselves, just even short bursts, like we're talking like seconds of a high intensity effort, they feel their heart rate increase, their breathing rate increase to that point where they're very uncomfortable, then they stop and they watch it come back down. And that calmness and that reassurance that, hey, wait, that happened and I'm okay still. And then just, experiencing that intensity and then that recovery over and over, it can start retraining your brain to see exercise not as scary, but as helpful.
Yeah, I can really see how that can work. That's so brilliant.
Yeah, it's super cool.
I love it. And so, exercise, clearly fantastic for our brain. But our brain doesn't want us to move. One of the big things that we come across is that as soon as we get in the door, we think, I'll definitely go for a workout tonight. I'll definitely go for a walk around the block. And then as soon as you get in, your brain comes up with a million excuses as to why it's probably not the best thing for you. Why is that? Why are we so resistant to moving?
It's so true. Even though I know how good exercise is for me, it's my medicine. I do it almost every day. It's still hard. Like today was hard. I had actually, because it's winter here in Canada, I got cold because I was working. I had to have a shower before I worked out to just get myself motivated. I was like, okay, well, I'll reward myself with a shower and then I'll go work out. But it is true. And it's the brain to blame. And this is not something that ever actually will go away. And the reason why is because it's really is a relic of our evolutionary past when, the brain evolved to be energy conservative and to not expend energy when it didn't have to for survival. And so it kind of, because of that, makes us lazy.
Yeah, I know that.
So back in the day when we were evolving, we did have to expend a lot of energy to survive, to hunt and gather food, to outrun predators, etc. But flash forward to today, and we don't really have to move to survive. Our exercise is all pretty much voluntary. And so the brain knows this, and it sees it as an extravagant expense and tries to talk you out of it. Oh, you're too tired. Exercising is hard. Let's just sit here. It's comfortable. It's warm here.
Yeah, if you made dinner now, you could be in bed earlier. That's what my brain tells me.
Exactly. But so that's definitely there. It's there for everybody. It's a relic of the brain. Fortunately, we've evolved more sophisticated brain regions that can help, talk some logic into that lazy. But it does require some planning on your part. So it's hard. The brain is always going to try to talk you out of exercising. And so you need to just plan ahead. So one of the simplest things to do is just plan it ahead. Put it in your calendar. Work out all the details ahead of time, like what you're going to do, where you're going to do it, when, with whom, for how long. Get all those details down, put them in the calendar, and then it's easier. You've made a commitment ahead of time. It's easier for you to execute it at the time. You don't need all that willpower to think about what you're doing and the details. So that's a really, really good tip. Yeah. Other good tips, you can couple exercise with things that you enjoy, like listening to music. This is when I love, or listening to your favorite podcast. This is a super fun thing too, right? So you set aside time when you know, it's like self-care time where you couple your space and time for exercise with something else that really like nourishes you.
Yeah.
And so that's like a really cool coupling. And it's believed to work in a similar way, like when you were talking about dopamine. So when we listen to our favorite music, for example, it increases dopamine release in the reward system to reinforce the behavior. And so when we're coupling that reinforcing behavior with another activity like exercise, they kind of start coupling together. Neurons that fire together, wire together, and those two activities get sort of wired together, which is a really nice like neuroscience hack to include in your exercise.
Yeah, that's so helpful. I found that. So like I get up and take my dog for a walk in the morning. And as I said to you, I get up kind of early, which makes me a bit odd, but I'll get up early and then I'll do the walk. And then I've got like this time before work starts because like I work from home now. And so I've just found myself naturally filling that with exercise. And so naturally now that's the time that I just exercise. So if I don't do it, I'm like, well, what am I going to do now? Like I've got, I've got nothing left to do. So it really helps. You can actually start that routine too, right?
Oh yeah, the routine. And a lot of people find first thing in the morning is a really great time because you have all your willpower for the day built up. And it's just like, you just go and do it. I always find that it's easier for me to do it if it's scheduled in a routine and it's first thing. Later in the day for me, I get pretty tired.
Same.
It's more I have to work extra hard to convince my lazy brain that it's worthwhile doing.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Absolutely. But it's lovely. It's really nice because I think, you know, so many people, and you can probably relate to this, but so many people listening to this, to actually see exercise as something that's a really beautiful gift to yourself. And it is self-care. It's not to do with punishing and how many sodding calories you can burn and, you know, whether you're going to have abs in 6 weeks. Like, when you're tying yourself to such trivial crap goals that, you know, are just like so intangible. Yeah. I just think this is such a brilliant way that really gets you motivated. I just love it. Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, and the really great thing is that even if you're starting from a place where you're not feeling well, you know, like maybe your mood's low or you're feeling anxious, the thing is, you don't need to exercise intensely. Like it's more about like the time and putting in the time and space.
Yeah.
And so I think one thing, like when we're reframing how we see exercise to be more about self-care, is that it takes on this more compassionate approach. Like our programming is like, it's there, but it's not, you know, we're not as strict with how we do it. And it's more almost like intuitive movement where we're paying attention to how the movement's making us feel. Like one thing that I've started noticing, like, is that even just like if I go to the gym and I'm doing a weight lift out, like workout, even just the stretching and moving my body, like it just feels good. And I really enjoy that. And so, you know, hanging on to the things that you enjoy and being mindful and present in the moment. I know like yoga does a really good job of bringing the attention to mindfulness and the breath and the body. But we can bring that same intention to any kind of workout that we do. And it creates this coupling with this mindful compassion and like body-centric and, you know, soulful movement that it makes the whole process so much more, you know, supportive for you as a person.
Totally. And way easy to stick to. I think for so long, so many of us have been told that, you know, we should be absolutely doing burpees, even if we hate them. We should be, even if running, we can't think of anything worse than going out for a run. You should be a runner. It's like, but there's so many other enjoyable ways to move your body that if you don't like running, there's like 100 other things you could be doing that are going to give you the same impact. Like, I think getting hung up on those, certain types of workouts that we've been sold as like the ultimate workout. It's like, no, I don't like spin. It makes my butt hurt. So I don't do spin. Like, there's loads of other things that we can be doing, right?
Exactly. And it can change and it can evolve as you change, which I love. Like, so I was doing a lot of cycling. I was doing these triathlons for a while. For the book. That was kind of a big goal for me. But now it doesn't really serve me in the same way.
Exactly.
And so, I've started salsa dancing, which is so fun. And that's something new and fun that I can do. And it's, it's training the body, but it's also training the mind too. And it's fun. It's enjoyable. It's social. All of these elements of movement are like really synergize it, like so that it has not just the benefits of movement, but all of these additional extraneous benefits that come along with it.
Totally. I love that. I know people who listen to the podcast, you'll be bored of me talking about this, but I took up surfing a year ago now.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And I have all my
wow, you're into it.
Right. Well, some of those, so Jennifer's talking about the surfboards that are behind me when we're recording, but I've got like 3 there that are my husband's. He's very good. So they're little short ones. And I've got 2 long boys back there, which kind of really help me float. But honestly, I've never found so much joy in movement, and it's changed my whole perspective of it. It doesn't have to be something where there's bloody, you're tracking it and you're seeing how high your heart rate gets. You like just go out there and have a good time. It's so joyful.
And that's it. I don't track anymore. I find it's just more rewarding to just like go.
Totally agree. And I think when you focus on those external measures like calories burned, miles clicked up, heart rate, it completely takes you away from what you're actually feeling in your body rather than, do I feel better now? Has my mood improved post workout?
Exactly. And the amazing thing is once we start shifting our focus to being like, how are we feeling? All those other benefits come. They just come naturally without all that hard work. Like it's just, it's the added benefit of when we feel good, we're sleeping better, we're eating better, we're moving more, and it just naturally happens.
Totally. I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, of course, we know that exercise is only one half of the equation when it comes to your physical and mental health. So if you're looking to make a healthy shift this year when it comes to nutrition, YouFoods could well be the answer you're looking for. They take on the mental load of meal prepping and deliver gourmet, nutritionally balanced meals, fresh, never frozen, right to your door. All you do is hop online and choose what you like the look of from over 60 meals that are constantly being tweaked and added to so they're more delicious than ever. Make sure you use my code HELPFUL, HELPFUL, for up to $200 off your first 5 boxes. And so if we want to get started and we're not doing anything at all at the moment, like we're really new to exercise and maybe it's, makes us pretty anxious, the thought of getting out there. I know you said that just a little bit each day can help. Where should we start if we're completely new to exercise?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. Something as simple as walking, if that's within your capability, is a really great way to start. A lot of people enjoy walking outside. So that could be one thing that some people like. And I would suggest, start with something that's feasible for you to stick with. And try, make a plan and put it in your calendar and include all the details. And then ask yourself, how confident am I that I can stick with this plan? On a scale from 0, where 0 is not confident at all, and 10 is absolutely sure, you want to be above 7.
Yes.
If you're honest with yourself, you want to be above 7. I'm confident. I'm sure that I can do this above 7 out of 10. And if you're not with the current plan that you've made, you need to just adjust it.
Yes.
Like maybe take off a day, maybe take off some time, maybe, and then re-rate your plan. Am I above 7? Yes. Okay. Give it a try. Check in with yourself a week later and reevaluate.
Yeah.
So I think at the beginning, it's just really about making the commitment to move more, regardless of what you're doing, and just establishing that habit.
Yeah, totally.
So I really think that for anybody, and it can be walking, it could be anything. It could be yoga, it could be dancing, it could be surfing, it could be swimming, anything that you like, that you feel is within your capability, and that you feel confident that you could do and would enjoy doing. Try it for a week, readjust, and then that's the thing. When it comes to exercise and the benefits for the brain, it really is consistency is key.
Yes.
And we have to think about this as not like, it's not a fad. It has to be a lifelong commitment.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like it, that's going to be very difficult to stick with for the life,
Yeah, totally.
So definitely, picking something you like to do, coupling it with things you like, people you like, would really be beneficial. But yeah, we can't underestimate the power of little bits of movement. So a really amazing study came out recently looking at depression and depressive symptoms. And one thing that's really difficult for people who struggle with depression is that lack of motivation is a symptom. Mm-hmm. And that can make it difficult to do anything, especially exercise. And so to tell someone who's not feeling good to exercise, it's kind of like, really?
Not helpful, yeah.
Like the lazy brain's like on fire, right? Like he's like, oh no. So I think for the study, what the study showed was like, honestly, every step counts. Even if going from off the couch to the door is better than just staying seated on the couch. And so I think permission to just move a little bit and to start there and to see how it feels and to just keep checking in with yourself, I think is a great way to start.
Yeah, and so achievable. And you're going to get so much joy out of this. Yeah, it's a real gift for you. Yeah, I love it. And so if we are already exercising, say we're doing like maybe a walk 3 times a week, or we're working out a little bit, maybe we can't find the consistent motivation to do it, but we do exercise. What could we be adding to our routines or focusing on that's really going to boost our brain even more?
Okay. Well, if we circle back to what we were talking about with lactate,
yes,
you might want to incorporate a little bit more high intensity exercise.
Yes.
And now that is very individual, of course. Yeah. But for example, if you are a regular walker, you might want to pick up the pace, maybe between light posts, or add in a few hills into your walk. And the reason this is beneficial is because when we work out sort of at a more intense level, and you can tell when you're working out intensely because it becomes difficult to have a conversation. Like it's hard to talk. We call that the talk test. So you can use that as a gauge. But once it becomes difficult to have a conversation, you're at a level that's intense enough to be producing that lactate.
Brilliant.
That we need for the brain growth and stimulation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. So that's super simple. And so if we wanted to, incorporate this high intensity exercise, and that's brilliant to know that, if you just can't continue a conversation, you're there. Because I think we think about, I've got to be doing like 200 burpees or like I've got to be going out and doing these ridiculous things and injuring myself. And that's the only way that I'm going to qualify. Yeah, which is so great. Yeah. But if we start there and maybe we introduce a few hills, how much of that should we be doing to maximize these benefits? Like how much, maybe in terms of time or, in terms of intervals, should we include in our workouts to get the max benefits?
Well, you know what? I don't think we actually know that based on the research, but because you want to balance it, right? Because you don't want to overdo it because you don't want to get injured or overtrain, right? And so a lot of the protocols will do like a 3-minute walk at a regular pace, 3-minute walk at an intense pace, repeat 5 times.
Yeah, okay.
You know, so it's not the whole workout being intense. And then you maybe do that 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah.
It really would be, you know, something to, especially if you're new to exercise, it's always helpful to just check in with a health professional that knows you and knows your status.
Yeah.
And can advise you on what would be safe.
Yeah.
But it's, it is something that even just a little bit, adding a little bit more, it will be beneficial. You don't have to go like all out.
Yeah, brilliant.
All the time.
And that leads me to my next question. I know you are, you know, incredibly fit and you do Ironman, so I'm a bit hesitant to ask you.
Ironman.
Still, you got to wear that as a badge, Mrs. I did one triathlon and I never shut up about it. It's hard. It is hard. But so, you know, I know who we're asking here, but as you touched on there, it is possible to overdo it, right?
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to go out and go all in.
No. And I'll have to tell you, after I trained for that Ironman and completed it, I wasn't well. Like,
Wow.
It was too intense for me personally. And that night that I did the Ironman, I didn't sleep because I was so my body was so full of adrenaline and stress that it was just like it. So exercise can have that negative effect.
Yeah,
but
like anything, right? Yeah.
It does take a lot. Like and when we think about it, it comes back to this idea that exercise is stressful and it's a stressor. And acutely and in small doses or appropriate doses, that stress can be like a good stressor where it challenges the body so that we can adapt and grow stronger.
Yeah.
But there's a point, there's kind of like a tipping point over which, like, if it's too stressful for too long without sufficient recovery and rest, it actually has the opposite effect. It makes us weaker. We get injured. And so when I was doing those really long, intensive workouts, I didn't feel good.
Yeah,
you know. So now I'm definitely not doing those. My routines now, I work out. I do like I still work out with my coach because she keeps me kind of even, so I don't do too much or too little. I just personally find that helpful. But I have her program 3 resistance exercises a week, less than an hour. So I'm in and out in 45 minutes. And then 3 cardio sessions a week. And right now I'm doing like stair climbing and some running and walking. So
fun.
It's, it doesn't have to be like an all out unless you're training for something special. Like I was before. With a bigger purpose, or it's a goal. And that's good to have too. Those are fun too.
Yeah, totally. They can be motivating. I just think so many of us have been sold this, fib that exercise is this really complicated, expensive thing that we need to pay other people to help us figure out. And it's like, actually, it's super accessible and you can get benefits from doing not very much, really. It's brilliant. Yeah, it's so refreshing. We've kind of covered this for adults, but this is also beneficial for kids too, right? If we have kids in our lives and we kind of want to encourage them to move, are they going to get all these benefits too?
Yeah, it's really amazing. The benefits of exercise for the developing brain are just incredible. So, and kids will naturally move, right?
Yeah.
They naturally move. They move more when they're young. And it starts to slow down when we hit adolescence. My daughter is 12 now, and I see it already. I mean, she has a good role model, and I'm always constantly trying to, show her exercise. And that's key too, is like, our children are looking at us as the model for what adulting is. And so if we are active, that's shaping their perception of what adult activity looks like. Because what happens is often when kids reach high school, their activity level decreases. And this is especially true for women. for young girls. And it's at a time when exercise is really nurturing and supporting brain function. So exercise is linked to academic performance in young kids and university students. It's linked to ability to focus. So children who have attention difficulties, who are exercising either before class or having the opportunity to exercise during class, are able to focus better during class. They remember more.
Yeah, wow.
Really amazing. It significantly improves their mood. It improves their sleep habits. And it makes them feel good. Like, so it's a really great way to like boost confidence and, you know, self-efficacy and generally good. And when young people are like focused on healthy living and a healthy lifestyle and taught those things, the research shows that they're less likely to experiment with things like alcohol and drugs.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. It's wild though, isn't it? Because, you know, schools and colleges and universities, they kind of see physical education or kind of, you know, those kinds of things as extraneous, you know, a bit time wasty, like indulgent things that kids should be doing, when in actual fact it's brilliant for academic success. I mean, there's so many schools where sports is the focus, but really it's only competitive sport. It's, you know, which is why I didn't do sport as a kid, because I'm just not interested in competing with people. It's wild that it's not a focus.
I think it's starting to shift a little bit more. I see it already with like daily physical activity built into classes. But you're absolutely right. There was a shift away from it because they were trying to prioritize academics, and they saw it sort of as separate. You know, we need more time to focus on school and scholastic. But it was a disservice because there's only so much space and time when the brain can stay that focused.
Totally,
you know, and it's really not that long.
Not at all.
Once the brain gets tired or bored, it starts to wander. And so if you're not there in mind, you're not able to absorb the material you're supposed to learn, and you're definitely not going to remember it after. And so exercise is one way. Just even a short 5-minute break, we've shown in our research, helps to actually refocus the mind so that it can pay better attention and remember more. And so it actually is like a catalyst to learning rather than like a time waste. So I think that's becoming more clear in academic circles. Well, I hope. That's my hope.
Yes. Well, you're doing the good work there, and you're fighting the good fight, and we appreciate it. No, this is so fascinating. I'm just so grateful to you because it's so much more motivating than focusing on whether or not you've got abs yet. Like, it's so good.
I'm still waiting for mine to come. You know?
Same here. So we've talked about it, you know, like we can start as little as we want, you know, don't be intimidated by that. Consistency is going to be the key here. And even if we get our kids out with us, I guess that would be a fantastic thing to do, which would be so great. What's the main thing that you want people to remember about this, and the main takeaway that you want to leave people with?
Yeah, I think just reconceptualizing how we think about exercise. It doesn't have to be a 1-hour hard workout at the gym. It can be incorporating movement throughout your day in any way that feels good for you, and in moving your bodies in ways that feel good for you. Don't compare yourself to other people. This is your journey. This is something that you can go to and seek to for solace and comfort. That's how I want people to think about exercise. It's not a punishment. It's a supportive place for you so that you can grow stronger and you can show up as your best version of yourself in your life. For me, that's what exercise does for me. And because I've learned that, I make it a priority. And I do hope that people will shift the focus, you know, especially, you know, we have so many responsibilities in our life that we often neglect to take care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the best ways that we can take care of ourselves is by giving ourselves the space and time to move.
Yes. Absolutely. And one of the things that I've found, since I refocused, and a lot of how I kind of reframed my relationship with exercise and movement is like through intuitive eating and intuitive movement. Yeah, which is fantastic. I'm going to put the links in the show note because everybody should read that book. But the thing about that is that once you start to reframe this, as you say, as a place for solace and comfort, when you have a really crappy day, you don't want to go and have a glass of wine or to like go and eat all this crappy food. What you want to do is go to the gym or go for a run or go for a walk or go and do some yoga, because you actually start to realize, and your brain starts to realize, that that's going to make you feel 10,000 times better than the things that you used to find comfort in, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you start to realize that those other things are just sort of like, they're a Band-Aid.
Totally.
And they often make it worse. But exercise is not like that. It really is. It's an enduring supportive comfort that you can go to. But the thing is, you can't see it as work.
Yes. Yeah.
That's where the reframing comes in, right? It's your self-care.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. What a joy to chat to you. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I really appreciate it. This has been fabulous.
Great talking to you too.
That was Dr. Jennifer Heisz. She's an expert in brain health, an associate professor and Canada Research Chair in Brain Health and Aging in the Department of Kinesiology at McMaster, and she's also the author of Move Your Body, Heal Your Mind. There is so much in this, and I think you're really going to find, if you start to focus on those internal measures that are much more achievable than checking in the mirror every morning for whether you've got abs or not, I really think you're going to find that motivation to unlock that consistent exercise. And the other part of that, obviously, as we mentioned, is finding something that you really enjoy doing. If you hate running, stop doing it. If you don't like doing burpees, don't do them. Life is way too short. And there are so many other ways to move your body that are going to set you on fire. Don't let old perceptions of exercise and movement get in your head and stop you from reaping so many incredible rewards from moving your body. I will put the link to Jennifer's book in the show notes. I'm also going to put the link to Intuitive Eating, which is the book I recommend to everybody that you're absolutely going to love, because if you're kind of looking to get a healthier relationship with food and exercise this year, that's really going to help you out. It's a brilliant book, so I'll put the link in the show notes. Make sure you check it out. And don't forget, I'm over here on YouTube. I've learned to edit video just for you. So don't let it go to waste. Come and have a look. You can see me and my YouFoods box over here, because of course this episode was brought to you by YouFoods. Don't forget that you can use my code HELPFUL for up to $200 off your first 5 boxes. They take on the mental load of meal prepping and deliver gourmet, nutritionally balanced meals, fresh, never frozen, right to your door. All you do is hop online and choose what you like the look of from over 60 meals that are constantly being tweaked and added to, so they're more delicious than ever before. Make sure you use my code for YouFoods, which is HELPFUL, HELPFUL, for up to $200 off your first 5 boxes. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And thank you to all the beautiful people who left me lovely reviews recently. It makes such a difference. I really appreciate it. Sometimes when it's just me sat here with my microphone, you feel like you're shouting into the void a little bit. And I know I'm not, because I can see those stats ticking over. But if you're listening, leave me a little note as a review. I would really love to hear from you and hear what you enjoy about the show, what you want more of, what you want less of. Maybe boxes in the background we can ditch, but we'll work on that, hey. I'm Ed Stott. I sincerely hope that's helpful.